Hi, welcome back. We're the House Sisters.
Sisters selling houses.
So on to another topic that we keep getting discussion of, and it's all in the market, the buzz and all of that. So
The media hype.
yes,
That's
from A to Z. Like it's being talked about nonstop right now is, are we going to see the housing market crash? Is the bubble going to pop? So I got my real estate license in 2011. So it was a few years after like our last major recession.
But you were definitely seeing the impact from the recession by this point. Like,
oh yeah, no, the prices were dirt cheap.
Right.
The average sales price in 2011 was like 130,000. Average sales price in Sacramento right now is almost 600,000, depending on your location. I mean, it's higher in a lot of areas.
Mm-hmm.
So, really, what's different now after the COVID pandemic and the state of our economy than in 2007 when we saw the housing market crash?
Right.
Well, there's a few things that are really different. The first one being people are actually qualifying for their loans now.
Right.
Buyers that are obtaining loans to purchase property, they're going through a well-vetted process. Their credit's being checked. Their employment's being verified several times during the transaction. They're providing bank
and you
statements.
think that this is like, oh, isn't that how it always has been? Apparently not.
No, I mean,
Before you could say, hey, I have stated income of this, this, and this, and they'd be like, okay, cool. And
and a lot of people were obtaining adjustable rate mortgages. So basically they had a payment they could afford that was interest only for a certain amount of years with the idea that, well, you'll refinance out of that because your home value is going up
when the
anyways.
interest rates go down.
Well, not even when the interest rates go down, just once your home value comes up, you can refinance out of that adjustable rate mortgage. Well, most loans today are fixed. They're not variable loans. You have an interest rate that you lock in today and it stays with the life of that loan. So unless you refinance or sell the property, if you're locked in at a 4% interest rate, you're getting a 4% interest rate until there's a change, until you refinance or until you sell. So people aren't seeing this huge adjustment in their payments based on their loan type and their loan terms because their loan terms are not variable. They're not changing. And our parents went through that. Our parents bought a house in 2005, in October of 2005. Well, I graduated in 2006, so it was in the October before I graduated. So the October of 2005, it was a variable rate mortgage. It was like an ARM, adjustable rate mortgage. So it was interest only. They could afford that payment. And then as soon as it adjusted out of the interest only, I mean, their payment, it went from $1,800 to $3,200 or something insane. And that's why they were in a position, they had to short sell their house because they couldn't refinance out of that adjustable rate mortgage at that point because the housing value was down. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just really, there's so many factors that are different now. People have stable jobs. People are actually obtaining loans and qualifying for them. It's just because the economy recedes and there's a recession, it doesn't mean that the housing market's going to crash.
Right, and we're in a seller's market still. There's limited inventory.
There really is limited inventory, and although the buyer traffic slowed down by about 40% of what we were seeing at the beginning of this year, we are still under a few months of inventory in Sacramento County. So,
and what kind of tell what that means, because I feel like people hear that and they don't know what that means and why that's such a big impact.
So let me explain it this way. On a national level, they say that 6 months of housing inventory is normal.
Is a healthy market.
Is a healthy market. Anything over 6 months of inventory is a buyer's market. Anything under 6 months of inventory is a seller's market. So right now in Sacramento, we're well below 6 months of inventory, but we've also seen a slowdown in the amount of buyers that are looking for homes. So we have definitely seen prices plateau, and in even some pockets, there may be even a little lower on a couple of comparable sales on a couple of homes that have sold.
But they don't get lower.
Well, if you think about how real estate works and how comparables work and appraisals work, you're basing the current sale on what's already closed.
So yes, we see price reductions, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be lower than what the closed comp is. There's probably a closed comp at 500 and they listed at 550 because they were thinking,
chasing the market.
I'm gonna get $50,000 more when I close. And it's like, no, okay, then they do a price reduction, then they do a price reduction, then they do a price reduction, and then they close at that $400,
$499,000, $500,000 price.
At
Absolutely.
that more close to that closed comp. So then people think, oh, price reductions, the housing market's dropping. It's not. It's just people are becoming more realistic.
Yeah, sellers are having to be more realistic about their listing prices. It's not a name your price market right now for sellers.
No.
For a few reasons. The interest rates have gone up, which has reduced the buying power. So if you're borrowing $100,000 at 4%, your payment looks a lot different than if you're borrowing $100,000 at 6%, right? So there are just buyers that cannot afford to purchase in this market, because there's not houses priced low enough for a payment they can afford.
Right.
So they're priced out. And that being said, I mean, there's just a lot of changes going on, but again, because the stock market is down, that doesn't directly correlate with the housing market. And you've got to be really careful about making those comparisons, because real estate's very local. And with that being said, it's really hard to say, oh, hey, NPR or CNN or Fox News is saying this about real estate, when we've always looked at real estate on a very local level.
Right.
That's why the saying is, buy the worst house in the best neighborhood. You know what I mean? Don't buy the best house in the worst neighborhood, because what's one thing you can't change? Location. Real estate's always been about location, location, location. So at the end of the day, just be really aware of the fear mongering and the scare tactics that are going on. Absolutely, inflation's up. Absolutely, cost of goods are higher. We feel that with gas. I mean, we drive for a living. So we are definitely seeing a difference in what our budget's putting out for fuel. We're definitely seeing a difference in what our budget's putting out for food for the family, or even going out to eat. I don't know if any of you guys have noticed, but that's become a lot more expensive in the last year. That doesn't necessarily translate to housing market crash. Real estate is still considered one of the best investments you can make and one of the safest. It is essential that we have shelter. So that's definitely a protector for this type of investment.
You don't wait to buy, you wait to sell.
You don't buy real estate and wait. You don't wait to buy real estate. You buy real estate and wait. And at a fixed rate sorry, little confusion there. That's like my favorite saying. I don't know how I botched that, but with that alone, I mean, think about it from an investor's perspective. Rents are still extremely high. So if you're able to purchase a property as an investor right now that cash flows for you, amazing. And there's so many opportunities for that, because even if the housing market does decline or increase or plateau, again, everybody needs somewhere to live, whether you're a renter, whether you're a homeowner, whether your kid's at college in a dorm. People have to have shelter. It's like essential, air, water, food, and shelter. Those are the four main things you need. And I think that this whole, everybody gets so freaked out about crash. What I tell my clients is, if you were to buy right now at this purchase price with a fixed rate mortgage, could you afford the payment?
Right.
If you can afford the payment, then it's still a good idea to own your home over renting and paying somebody else's mortgage.
Right. Because if you're renting 100%, you're paying 100% interest. You're not getting any of that equity back. You're not adding any value. When it comes down to it, like if you gain 20% equity in your house, or
over the course of 4 or 5 years,
you technically, like when you break it down for the pricing, like the amount you're going to make on this is be like you didn't pay to live there all those years, or a certain amount of those years. Like, but if you're renting, you're paying and you're not getting anything back at the end when you sell it or when you move out, because it's not selling.
You're probably not even getting your deposit back.
Yeah, most likely.
You probably ruined that carpet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or didn't clean the stove. So, I mean, really, real estate is by far the investment I'm the most comfortable with. My husband and I own multiple properties. We have had several rentals over the last few years. We just sold one of our rentals, and that's a really interesting story. So, that's something I'd love to come on and share with you guys at some point. But we have made our wealth in real estate. And they say, economists say, people who...
I'm writing a book, by the way, called They Say.
They say. Okay, well, good. I want a signed copy. But it is said that people who own a home, even with... even having a mortgage doesn't mean you have to own it 100% outright, you paid cash. People who own a home are 36 times more wealthy than people who rent. So if you're scared, come to us, talk to us, let us have these conversations with you. And there's no pressure. If you still decide, you know what, I'm still not comfortable, I still want to rent, that's fine. But at least you gave yourself the opportunity to see if it could work for you,
right?
And to see if it's something that can build wealth for you, because that is the biggest thing. You're paying towards the principal of your own mortgage loan. So when you go to sell it, if you've gained equity, which means your house is worth more than what you paid for it when you purchased it, and you've paid down the principal, you're going to be sitting pretty. I mean, I don't know if it's $10,000 that would change your life, or 20 or 50 or 100, but I've sold a ton of people, first-time home buyers, people I went to high school with, homes in areas that wasn't their forever home, but it worked for their first home, and 3 to 5 years later, they're moving into their dream home with $150,000 in down payment. And they can actually afford to be where they want to be. Just for, it's a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And most people are really only in their house for 5 to 7 years, but when we do move in, we want to act like we're going to live there forever, and it's perfect. Then you live there and the house is great, but then you're like, wow, a walk-in closet would be nice. Or wait, we have 2 more kids, like, and we have no yard.
You learn your needs.
Yeah,
it's like
your needs change.
It's like buying a bed. You have no idea what you truly need. You lay on it, you like it, and then you get home, you lay on it for a couple of years, and you're like, man, that wasn't.
Yeah, and your back changes.
Yeah.
So, I don't know
that
about
might
that
have not been a good example.
Brittany just spent a good amount of money on a mattress because she has a bad back from her cheer and gymnastics career. So she's probably just feeling buyer's remorse. But anyways, love to meet with you. We have a Calendly link in our bio.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want to hop on there and schedule a Zoom meeting, a call, or an in-person meeting, if you want to grab coffee, we would love to do that. Whether you want to buy this year or in 5 years, let us help you get there. You don't have to have perfect credit. We know we don't.
Right.
The perfect.
I do. But
she has great credit. The perfect scenario doesn't exist across the board for everyone, and so that's why you should reach out to professionals so we can be creative and get you to where you need to be.
And education is key. Like, people, like we mentioned previously, don't wait to buy, wait to sell. Also, don't wait to get pre-approved, because when you're ready, say like what you think is ready, and you go and you get pre-approved and you're ready to go jump and start looking at houses, then you get pre-approved and the lender's like, hey, you kind of need to work on this on your credit, and you need to get this, and you need to get this in line, and you need to pay this credit card down. Get pre-approved now, and then make a plan.
So if you're ready now and you're pre-approved, buy now. Great. But if you want to be pre-approved and you have some credit things to work out, let them
be realistic.
Get some guidance on that.
And we'll sit down with you with a lender, and we will go over what you need to do and what your goals are, and then we'll provide you with a strategy how to achieve those goals. Because ultimately, your goal can be one thing and the strategy will be completely different for somebody else.
That's very true.
We just need you to educate yourself on where you're at, what you're capable of,
so
what your goals are.
Make a plan.
Yes, because every situation is very different. And that's another reason why I love real estate, because
it's never the same sell twice.
No, the transactions are very different. The people are very different. There's all these other elements. So it's always something different that we are working towards to achieve these goals that we set with our clients. And honestly, like, we love this. We're passionate about this industry. We know it inside and out.
We do it every day.
We look at certain reports, and that's another thing. I'm going to go on another tangent. But like disclosures and inspections and things like that.
Comparative market analysis, data, trends.
Yes, we
interest
see
rates.
that. We know the market. We see that stuff every day. So when we are looking at it, we just have all this background knowledge, and we're going, oh, that's not a big deal, or oh, that data looks correct, or oh, that, But when a buyer's just looking at it like with no prior knowledge, they're, oh, that looks scary, that looks scary.
So
and
lean into us.
And then they don't buy, or they don't sell, or they don't do that. But it's the bigger picture, and let us educate you so you can make a real decision based on data instead of emotions.
And the facts. Yeah,
emotions. Because the media is the first to get your emotions. You won't watch CNN or Fox News if it was an intriguing title.
So entertaining.
They're doing that for entertainment. They're getting their numbers. That's how they make money. That's how their livelihood. So don't follow this fear-mongering conversation or perspective. You need to go to the experts. I'm not an expert in everything. If I need to get my car fixed, I'm not going to
try to diagnose it.
Give the diagnosis. I'm going to take it to an expert, and and you need to find an expert in whatever it is that you're working towards in that field. You find the expert in that field and you trust them and you take their advice because they are supposed to be the expert. You can't.
And their guidance.
And take their guidance. And I'm not saying find any Joe Blow and trust them. You need to interview multiple agents. Right. You need to
do your due diligence.
Do your due diligence and find someone you trust because their guidance is going to be key to your goal
and your
success. Achieving your goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a couple tangents, long
That's
story long.
So the House Sisters out.
We are signing off. Oh, yeah.
We are sisters selling houses.
Sisters selling houses.